I am here with my good friend Josias Carbon, aka Coach Carbon, and I don't know how long it's been since we did.
I think it must be 4 years. Coming up to 4 years. 2021, I think.
Since our first sit down, a lot has changed since then.
A lot.
It's crazy. So what I want to jump into is what's going on here in the UK. Bitcoin is the focus. Bitcoin mining is my personal focus. And there's just so much going on. The UK is, I'm not exactly sure what they're doing on the scene with Bitcoin, but the US is establishing a strategic reserve. Whether or not they're buying Bitcoin is in question. I just want to talk to you about how Bitcoin has affected you personally in your journey, your orange pill journey, and let's just get straight into it. So
Let's do it.
the UK, I'm obviously an American living in the UK. I gotta say, there's some cultural things that I just flat out don't understand.
Such as?
About how the UK does business, right? Like the business environment, also like the cost of living, and just how you lot are getting on, so to say, right? In terms of like what's going on in the UK. Is this country going to embrace Bitcoin? Because we know that basically if you can't beat them, join them. And Bitcoin's a technology where inevitably you either adopt it and adapt to it or die. Would you agree with that?
Definitely, yeah.
So where's the UK on that, I wonder? Because obviously we're both living here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how much my home country has changed just in the last, political cycle. A lot has changed since we first sat down. It's good to see you, mate.
And you.
So what do you think's going on here in the land of Great Britain? Is Britain going to stay great?
I don't think so. I think eventually they'll follow suit. But as we understand that Bitcoin is about incentive structures, right? So whatever people think about Trump and his administration, they are incentivized to join the train, to jump on the train, because they are capitalists, interested in money. They understand that this can make them rich. So they are incentivized to understand it and on board them and their nation, which then will make them richer. There's so many knock-on effect ramifications from doing that, positive ramifications, that they probably don't know about. But Bitcoiners who are cheerleading, as someone said to me, you're cheerleading Donald Trump, I'll take that. What they're doing, they're bringing in a Trojan horse. Now I think the UK, whatever their game plan is, their strategy, whether or not they have one, they're not incentivized because they haven't understood it. I think we live in, especially in the UK, of people that are in power, think they're in power because they've earned it or they've inherited it, but they think it's their right. And I don't think they feel they have to listen or learn anything new. Going back to Trump and his administration, they want to better the country, make America great again, okay, MAGA. How do you do that? Well, you want to bring in investment, you want to bring in the brightest, you want to bring in the money. Well, Bitcoin is telling them, Bitcoin will make America great again. So somebody has got someone's ear, they've listened, they've passed it up the chain, and someone's gone, do you know what? This looks good, we're going to do it. And I think it started possibly, was it Orange Pill app, who created a fund to donate a book to every single person in the Senate. I think it was just before the election. And so every single member of the Senate had the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous.
I wonder if they read it.
Yeah. Maybe it's just sat on a bookshelf and we need one in here.
Right.
But it may have just sat on their bookshelf, but everyone had that touch point. And somebody who had that touch point may have read it and passed it up chain. And where the US are where they are now. In the UK, we have the Bitcoin policy led by Freddie New. We know that Susie Violet Waters involved. They've had events that they've invited people to, but has that gone up chain? We know there are people that were in politics who understand Bitcoin, but are they being listened to? I think they are.
I do.
You do?
Insofar as I think we saw a major shift with Trump and people like David Bailey, people like heavy in the industry, particularly mining, where he's meeting with Clean Spark board members and Mara, he's meeting with Thiel, he's meeting with Amanda Fabiano, like people deep in the trenches in the front line of this industry. And so I think that for that reason, that's largely explains the shift where he was anti-Bitcoin and then he's taken a very pro-Bitcoin stance. So yeah, I think, and I'm curious to ask you if you think that that pivot is just in self-interest or if it's more in actually the national interest of making America great again, so to say. And further to that, like, where's the mega movement?
Well, I think it begins with self-interest. Like most Bitcoins, we say, came from the money, stayed for the revolution. So in self-interest, he can then make America great again. That his MAGA dream, he leaves a legacy, right? By, as he said, he wants the US to be the Bitcoin capital of the world. By doing that, that will make America great again. And in 100 years' time, he'll be known as the president that led America into the next phase, the next era of financial, digital wealth.
Perhaps even establishing the Orange Party.
Exactly.
As it
and that would tie in very well with Trump.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's politically the two-party system in America. I know less about British politics, but the two-party system is in many ways a one-party system.
Yeah, I think we're the same in the UK. Go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you understand how politics works. Those in power, so to speak, are not leading. They have lobbyists, and lobbyists will lobby the red, the blue, the green in the UK, or the yellow, whichever party's involved. You'll have lobbyists that will be able to influence decisions.
Is the UK fumbling the ball? Like, you guys hold apparently about 61,000 Bitcoin, the third largest nation stakeholder. You mentioned how Britain is perhaps complacent based on the thousands of years of being the financial capital of the world. But now this revolutionary technology is changing everything.
There's a saying, I might butcher it, but it says, do not attribute to malice what can be attributed to ignorance. Now, we may look at it and think, they're doing it to keep Bitcoiners down. They want all the money for themselves, da-da-da-da-da. I think they just don't understand it, haven't taken the time and see Bitcoiners as an annoyance, as, say, insects to be trodden on and ignored. Whereas Bitcoiners understand where it's going, the technology, and how it can help the world. And so we're trying to help ourselves, our families, our local community, and then the area you live, whether which jurisdiction, which country, continent. But Bitcoiners are putting a lot of effort in, wherever they live, to onboard those in power, to expedite, but to make change. But those who are in power potentially don't want that change. One, don't understand it, and if they do kind of understand it, they understand that they may become irrelevant, or powerless, or have less power, less control. We're looking for smaller governments. So again, incentive structures, it's not in there, they're not incentivized to want to understand Bitcoin, embrace it, and onboard masses of people, because they will lose control ultimately.
Certainly politics is built on fiat in the modern era. So perhaps Bitcoin's a bit of a wrecking ball to that.
Yeah.
And certainly it's going to result in some massive changes that most people aren't ready for, especially politicians. So we see game theory playing out, don't we, Josias, right? Like, if you don't adopt this, in a sense, you're going to get left behind, but most people don't realize that.
It's like Sailor says, you had fire, you had the wheel, you had the internet. Anyone that didn't adopt those three things would have become extinct or left behind, is the next thing.
Facts. And shout out to everyone on the internet using the technology, tapping in to communities like this. Like, you know, Bitcoiners are the most interesting and diverse group of people on earth, because, you know, people are coming from all different places in the world, walks of life, expertise, industries, etc. And the focus is Bitcoin. It's a very interesting conversation that's happening. So we still have people like Energy Secretary Ed Miliband calling Bitcoin useless. I mean,
Haven't done the 100 hours. Whenever anyone has anything dismissive to say about Bitcoin, I would ask the question, have you done 100 hours of studying? If the answer is no, you are welcome to your opinion, but I don't give your opinion validity. Your opinion is not valid to me because you haven't done the work. If you've done 100 hours and you can explain all the aspects of Bitcoin, the social aspects, the technological, the financial side of it, and you tell me that you don't like it, fair enough. But I don't know anyone that's done 100 hours and said that. even the biggest critics, such as, who's the guy?
Peter
Schiff, who I've blocked on Twitter for years. I only see screenshots. He is a Bitcoiner. He understands Bitcoin. His son owns Bitcoin. He's just doing it for clickbait. And so I've no interest in listening to him or giving it any time and energy, because you know what you're doing. You're attention seeking, and that attention seeking, you get invited to Bitcoin conferences to speak. You understand what Bitcoin is. Don't tell me that he doesn't understand it.
Do you feel like that Coinbase ad accurately represents the situation here in the UK, where we've got cost of living getting too high, old age pensioners depending on pensions that are severely underfunded. We've got young people that can't really like get on into the boomer economy in a sense, and people aren't allowed to get into crypto assets. There is no second best, of course. There's only one real crypto asset, which is the apex predator finance. Coinbase is interested in crypto in general. Do you see that, number one, did you feel some type of way when you saw that Coinbase commercial? Number two, do you think that it accurately represents like that people have a real problem, not just in the UK, but really the first world, not to mention the third world, and how like we all have our own issues that Bitcoin solves in many ways? Was that Coinbase commercial accurate?
What are you talking about?
It's just fine. Everything is grand. Your life can get no better when you're living by the letter in this pleasant land.
Everything's fine. As the advert alluded to. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. I laughed when I saw it. I'm not a Coinbase fan. I'm not a Brian Armstrong fan. Crypto casino and whatnot. Late to acquiring Bitcoin for this company. They could have done so much more to help the Bitcoin space. Again, incentive structures, I understand why they've done what they've done. Financial gain, put loads of coins on there, get people addicted to gambling and trading. But that's not what Bitcoin's about. But that being said, the advert was a great advert. And as a Bitcoiner, I found it funny. Living in the UK, if I didn't understand Bitcoin, I'd be offended. But as a UK Bitcoiner, it was funny because it is so true. Everyone knows there's a problem. You've got cost of living, crime, health for the nation's rubbish, infrastructure. And so everyone knows there's something wrong. The system's failing.
Everyone knows that.
End of society, end of days, end of the Roman Empire, so to speak. Everyone knows there's a problem. Some people are coming with a solution, but not a lot of people are open to that solution, which is Bitcoin. So ultimately what they're saying is, not happy, but it's fine. At least we're not, say, living in a third world. But the third world, a lot of the third world understand reasons why things are bad where they live. And they understand why things aren't great in, say, the first world. And that can easily flip in a generation.
In the third world, they understand their governments are corrupt.
Yeah.
Their fiat, their money is corrupt, and that things aren't working.
Yeah. So for them, the solution of Bitcoin makes sense, peer-to-peer, confiscatable, so many aspects that we in the first world, we need to check our financial privilege. Shout out Alex Gladstein. We're not aware of our financial privilege, or some people aren't. So all we're thinking is, it's not great, but it's fine. Bitcoin is saying it can be great. MAGA are saying make America great again. But it's so many touch points that people have, and on that advert, I think we have taxi drivers, I think we had hospital staff, nurses, we had young people.
People going to Dubai with their money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of that is happening in the real world. So it was a comic take on actual events that's happening. But yeah, it was a good advert. I'm just annoyed that Bitcoiners didn't own it first, and it came from Brian Armstrong and Coinbase.
In a sense, it alludes to there is a solution.
Yeah.
And
if you took offense to that, why did you take offense? If you're living in the UK and you took offense to, let's say, an American company, someone mocking your culture, a musical out on the streets, everyone's singing and dancing, but in a decrepit state. The world that the UK in was grey, it was blurry. Yeah, if you took offence to that, why did you take offence?
Interesting question. And so there is a solution. It's probably not going to be adopted from the top down. It's probably going to be adopted from the bottom.
Grassroots up.
Right.
Yeah.
So how has the orange pill personally affected you? Has it made you a better man? Has it made you a better father? I want to know if Bitcoin's a solution to, not everything, of course, but if Bitcoin's a solution to a lot of problems in the modern world, how has it affected you?
So I believe it has made me a better person.
Me too.
Some people may argue. I was really on a journey to better myself when I discovered Bitcoin, and I think because I was on that journey, I was more open to Bitcoin and understood it quicker, just all the different aspects of it. In terms of being a better father, I would say I'm more present, but I'm able to be more present. Left the fiat world, kind of. Now I'm in the fiat mines, but I'm doing something I love in the fiat. That makes me happy, which makes me better at home. I'm not overthinking stuff as I was in the previous lifestyle. Makes me more present to my family, although they may argue all you talk about is Bitcoin. I think that's a net positive overall. I may annoy them with it, and because I'm now more frugal, certain things that we may have been accustomed to, we're not now, but I keep mentioning this is what the lifestyle we have now is not just for me or for us, it's for the next generation and the generation after. This is for our lineage. For people to understand that who don't understand Bitcoin is hard. You're thinking about multi-generational wealth, but we're here in the right now. So that high time preference is hard to get away from in your environment unless they're learning daily about.
It's damn near impossible to get away from. Like, you're forced to heighten your time preference as inflation gets worse, as things generally degrade in the first world and whatnot. You're forced to heighten that time preference because your money is losing value, and it's devaluing your time and your energy. So I was interested to ask you, as a father, you've been a father longer than I have. As a father, I've always been a Bitcoiner. And that's not true for you, is it?
No. Yeah, interested. I haven't thought about that, being a Bitcoiner father from day dot, like you can instill things into your children from a young age that they carry through. Or we've seen it online. We follow people on social media who Bitcoiners have had children, and at 2-3 years old, they're drawing the Bitcoin logo on their drawings. My children were still young, and they do listen to me sometimes. My daughter, I mentioned this story several times, when she was 7 or 8, asked me for the app that makes the money go up. I had no idea what she was talking about. And
as you do.
Then realised it was Wallet Satoshi. She wanted a Bitcoin app because she'd seen me talking about the money I have on an app that goes up. So at 7 years old, she had a Wallet Satoshi on her phone. Fast forward 5 years, she's now starting her own business.
Cool.
And then saving money.
Wow.
Without thinking, okay, not so saying she didn't have to work hard at school, but she has a passion and she's providing value, and she knows she could earn money, which is time and energy
and
stored.
Where do you store the value?
Exactly. You store it in the best performing asset, right? She's not going to go and buy a house. She can't buy part of a house. She just about has a bank account now, but that bank account interest rates at kids, I don't know, used to be 12 when I first had my son. The financial crisis went down to 6, and maybe it's now 2%.
Times have changed.
Inflation's 12%, but quoted at 6. So she's never going to beat inflation with her savings. So there's one logical answer where to park your stored time and energy. So it's a no-brainer, but she's understanding that now at 14 years old.
If you have a low enough time preference.
Yeah.
If you're going to hodl it for 4 days, maybe not so much.
But for your children now, understanding that from a very young age, and this the cake in the room, or the cupcake in the room, right? Heard about that, where the kids in the room, and you look at the cupcake, say, if you leave that when I walk out, when I come back, if it's still there, you can have 2. The delayed gratification. If kids can understand that at an early age, and then they understand, okay, Bitcoin is the cupcake, you can have a little bit of Bitcoin now, or if you wait, say we just say them at Bitcoin, because one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, but in fiat terms, it'll be worth more, then you'll be able to, say, buy more cupcakes or buy more things. Majority of children, if they understand that at a young age, early age, we're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. As children get older, or adults, trying to explain that to them now is like, first thing they'd say is, oh, it's risky. And then if they do understand it, it's like, well, I'm 30, 40, 50 years old. I want to live life now. And they're not thinking about next generations coming after them.
It does seem like the older generations have massively increased their time preference, whereas a few generations back, they were thinking about how to keep the farm in the family and how to set up the next 2-3 generations for success. It seems less common today.
And I think that's a sign of the times, right? As the money gets diluted, so does society. And disrupted, and what's the word I'm looking for? Not distracted. Where things get worse in society.
Diluted.
Diluted, yeah.
And it's also crazy how like that same lesson that a 3-year-old is learning about deferring gratification, it's actually harder for the business owner to learn that and say, okay, I'm maybe not actually beating inflation with my profits in my business. And most businesses are losing. Like most businesses, they think they're making money. Maybe they are a little bit in fiat terms, but not in real terms. Do you think Bitcoin's a boomer coin?
In terms of age, but I can understand why people call it a boomer coin.
Yeah.
I have my own analogy that I use, like the wheel, right? There are many iterations of the wheel, but there's only one wheel, the round shape. No one's calling the wheel, oh, it's a boomer wheel, right? It's still the wheel.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin has evolved. Yeah, there has been upgrades to it. The community has agreed on these upgrades, improvements, but it would always be Bitcoin. So anything else that comes along that's shiny, that is different to what Bitcoin is, people will look at it and think, oh, this is great, but it's not going to be, because there are principles that make the wheel and make it work in cogs, in machinery. Same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin works on each layer because it is inherently pure and secure. Anything else that comes along is not going to be that. So I understand why people do call it the boomer coin, but they need to understand what makes it Bitcoin and what makes everything else not Bitcoin, which takes time.
We're so early, and we're also so back.
Yeah,
at the same time.
16 years. I was explaining to my mother in the car recently, 16 years is not a long time for a new technology, but it is, such as the internet. When was the internet invented or discovered? Early 90s? So 16 years after that is early 2000s.
That adoption curve.
Yeah, in the early 2000s, nobody could say, not sure about the internet, right? Because it was there, people were using it. 16 years after the first block was mined, that's a long time. But you take in the uptime.
And here we are at block 910, 319.
Exactly. So at this block right now, uptime 99.9%. The banks, traditional banks, haven't been open that long. Monday to Friday, little time on a Saturday, bank holidays off. Add all that time together, I don't think someone's done the maths, so I hope it's right. It doesn't add up to the uptime of Bitcoin in 16 years because it's 24/7, 365. Now, looking at it that way, it's like, it's already done its time. It's proven that it works.
Also, it's a Sunday. Try sending a lot of value from Tokyo to Mobile, Alabama, and get final settlement in a few minutes. It's game-changing technology.
And we mentioned earlier, about grassroots. UK, I think that will happen, but in the States, I think it's now squeezing. So it happened at grassroots. Those at the top, you mentioned about final settlements. Financial institutions are discovering the technology we're using is outdated. We need to adopt something else. So that gap will close, but it will come from bottom up, which it has done, and then top down, because they are incentivized to get in before everyone else.
So the middle's getting squeezed in a sense. Yeah. It's the early adopters, grassroots, and now the banks are obviously employ some of the smartest people on earth that are studying the technology and getting ahead of the program. The thing is about the big smart money, they can't deploy their capital very quickly. No. In other words, if an individual adopts the Bitcoin standard, they can get exposure at scale quickly, whereas the big institutions cannot. And so this is the only technology that I can think of where we can front run the banks, front run the governments, institutions, and benefit from the innovation and the adoption.
And the squeeze middle, which is a term that's used in the UK all the time, I think they suffer from time. So there's a problem which they understand. People at the grassroots have understood it. Maybe I don't know, have they had a bit more time because we're all working on the hamster wheel, right? But those in the squeeze middle are probably thinking about mortgages, job progression, career, family, may not have the time to then actually take a step back and do I change career or...
Everyone's just trying to keep up.
Exactly, trying to keep up so that they won't have time to look into it and then maybe invest because they maybe not have got any spare capital.
But they got time for Netflix.
Yeah.
They got time for...
Towie or whatever, Love Island, all that sort of thing, which I detest. I do not like them at all. My family know that. So you've got the grassroots, top down. So when you hear someone in your circle or you read somewhere or watch someone talking about Bitcoin positively and saying, study it, study it, study it, they're not doing it for self-benefit, they're doing it for your benefit. We are vocal about Bitcoin, we wear the brand, we've got the Bitcoin logo everywhere. It's because we want people to understand it how you understood it. And if you come to a conclusion, it's not for me, that's fair enough, but we implore you to just look into it, listen to a podcast, watch a YouTube video, read a book. 4 years ago, when we had the first podcast, there wasn't much out there. We probably had to search for it and search for the signals, right? Because there was a lot of noise. Now there's still noise, but there's a lot more signal. There's a lot more places for that. We can direct you to say, there's a new news channel, Simply Bitcoin TV. There's a dedicated podcast. There's all these books. There's so much. You mentioned the Bitcoin policy that are trying to enact change in governments. So many resources for people to use. There's no excuses now to not be interested in Bitcoin or to do at least an hour of research and understanding.
100%.
So take it how it's intended. If someone mentions Bitcoin to you, it's because they like you and they don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to have fun staying poor.
Facts. And that's why I'm doing this, and I appreciate you coming on. There's so much more I want to talk about, but let's save some for the next one. Where can people find you? Coach Carbon, right?
Most platforms, coachcarbon.life. Carbon TV on YouTube, that hosts a lot of what I've done with the Bitcoin Ballers. There's some podcasts on there. There's some stuff about the clothing. Carbon TV on YouTube. The Carbon Life Pods podcast you can get on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, but I'm going to say listen to on Fountain app. Again, there's so many things that are built on top of Bitcoin that can onboard people. You listen on Fountain app, you can earn Bitcoin, stream Bitcoin to your wallet whilst listening. So you're getting paid for your time.
That's dope.
And then you can also engage with the content creator directly. You can send comments. That will cost a few sats. That can go towards the
You're on Nostr now.
on Nostr as well, yeah. And so Fountain app will link with Nostr. So if you comment on Fountain app, it goes straight onto Nostr. So your comment will go on there. But it's that value for value, which Bitcoiners talk a lot about. So if incentivized, you're incentivized. The Bitcoin community are incentivized to make good content, to get rewarded for it. And if it's not good content, people aren't going to value it. They're not going to listen to it. They're not going to reward you. So you're creating a new wave, a new society of people that actually, we're not just going to throw out mush, rubbish, and try and get as much money as we can, which happens in the fiat world. We're going to actually take time. We're going to create good content, what we believe is good content. And if it's not, the nature of the markets, the nature of the industry, we'll understand, okay, that wasn't quite right. Maybe I need to speak about something else or try a different tack. But you're not just creating rubbish and people are just consuming rubbish. There has to be value.
Signal, not static, value for value. And I appreciate that. So signing off, this is Colby, the Bitcoin miner plug, talking about Bitcoin mining. Because if it wasn't for the miners mining these blocks, there wouldn't be Bitcoin. So signing off, if you got some value from this, give us a like. If you didn't, give us a dislike. Appreciate you guys and see you on the next one. Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Cheers.